You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time.
So I thought I'd start off with a question today. One where the listeners can get involved. So I don't need your answer straight away. I'll get your answer before the end of the podcast before we hit the bonus time. But let us know in the comments below. Who was the last player to go from the Jets to the Dolphins or the Dolphins to the Jets? The last player traded between the two AFC East teams. And I asked that because obviously trade deadline approaching. There's a few players who are available, one being a Jets cornerback, but obviously the Jets and Dolphins they're not usually trade partners. So let us know in the comments who you think the last player to be traded between the two teams was. Mr. Charlie Touche, if you know, like I said, let me know at the end of the podcast. But outside of that, how are you?
Cooling, vibing. Check for me when I'm flexing. And that song never came out, man. That was a song that's been in the archives forever, man. Like, we should have put that song out. But I'm all right, man. I was out on the water today. For anybody who follows Go Time Dolphins, the GTD socials. And I think there's some stuff all over social media about me and LB went fishing today. So, man, I'm kind of beat. I ain't gonna lie. The sun beat me down, but yeah, I'm doing good, man. Y'all know what time it is. It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond but across the world. I'm your boy Charlie Touche. I got my co-host Kadeem Simmons with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. What you got going on, Kadeem?
One of the reasons why I like podcasting because it allows both of us to get stuff off our chest. And the Miami Dolphins fan base at the moment, it always feels divided. But one person who divides the fan base every once in a while has come back up. Your boy Chris Grier. I've seen a lot of hate surrounding your boy Chris Grier. People saying he needs to be fired, all of this kind of stuff. And I think the latest reason I've seen he needs to be fired is because on Monday the Dolphins released Jaquandre White. So they're a bit surprising. Didn't really have much of a chance to impress. During the season kicked on and stuff like that. But 24 hours later, the Dolphins pick up is it Michael P. Ryan? No,
the Michael P. Ryan.
Yeah, the Michael P. Ryan, yeah. And chuck him on the practice squad. So everyone's like, they weren't happy with the White release, but all assumed it was making way for, you would assume, a corner, given that Nick Needham had done for the season, or maybe offensive line help. And instead they choose to bring in I don't want to call him a journeyman running back, but a running back, you kind of been around the league for long enough and you kind of know what you're getting from him. So that was the latest reason why people were saying get rid of your boy Chris Grier. But also they're kind of looking at the 3-game losing streak, the lack of production from anyone from Jalen Phillips to Liam Eichenberg, and basically saying, he hasn't drafted well. He's not made the most of all the draft picks, which he's the one that got all the draft picks. So before I get into a defense of your boy Chris Grier, as the conductor, the overall train, the guy leading the train for Chris Grier, what do you make of the latest calls from fans saying he needs to go?
Kadeem, I'm not only the conductor, the engineer of the Chris Grier train, bro. Like, I'm the one who operates the station too, bro. Like, listen, everything that comes through the Chris Grier station, it has to go through me first. We're not getting rid of Chris Grier. Ain't no way. For the novice or for the layman, it looks like draft picks and drafting is the only thing a general manager does. It is not the only thing a general manager does. Had it been the only thing a general manager did, then you guys might have a leg to stand on. But it's not. So there's something to be said about putting this team together. I've been on this podcast saying this Miami Dolphins team is the best Miami Dolphins team ever assembled. And I know they're going to come at me, but it's okay because I'm going to tell you why. Even the 72 Dolphins, and it's a perfect segue. Want to know why? And I'm going to take my headphones off because I got to do this. Like, it's the end of the 50-year anniversary of the 72 Dolphins going undefeated. So you know the merch had to be on deck. The 72 Dolphins merch. Let me everyone listening to the audio, y'all check us out on YouTube. So y'all got to see what this thing that I got on, man. It's just in there. You see that? You see that? Does it say undefeated?
It says undefeated season. Undefeated season 1972.
Did it say undefeated?
It did.
It did. Okay. So listen, that undefeated Miami Dolphins 72 Dolphins team was considered the no-name defense. That was the name of the defense because they didn't have anybody notable on that defense. That team, you know how many games? Who was the quarterback? Kadeem, off the top. And it's okay if you don't know, but just off the top, who was the Miami Dolphins quarterback in 72?
Was it Greasy?
It was Greasy. Cool. Do you know how many games he played that season?
I honestly don't know.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. I got you. Bob Greasy. Bob Greasy played, I want to say, in a total of 5 games, regular season games. I believe he started the first 4, got injured in the 4th, then played a few snaps in the last regular season game of that season. I would say fact check it, but it might take you a little to get there. But it's all right. Do you know who the quarterback was? Who replaced Bob Greasy?
I don't know.
I want to say this is off the top of my, because you threw me a curveball. I didn't know what was going here. Had I known we were going to go into Dolphins history 101, I might have been a little more prepared. But I think his name was Earl Morrell, something like that. Can you fact check that part? Because this is a Miami Dolphins podcast.
It is Morrell. You're right.
Listen, Kadeem, that 72 Dolphins team, that 72 Dolphins team went undefeated with a backup quarterback. People, you can't even name 6 people on that team. All right, maybe the Dolphin, the above average Dolphin fan can, right? Because of what happened. But I say all that to say this. This Dolphins team, 7 years from now, we're going to look back on this Miami Dolphins team, the 2022 Miami Dolphins team, and say, how was Chris Grier able to get all that talent on one football team? When I tell you the Super Bowl window for the Miami Dolphins is open right now, I believe we could win multiple Super Bowls in Tua's rookie contract. It's not likely to win multiple Super Bowls in Tua's rookie contract, but I guarantee here on Go Time Dolphins, Charlie Touche guarantees that we're going to win a ring within Tua's rookie contract. And I think it's going to be 2024. But if they want to fast track it and bring it in this year, hats off to you. I'm not getting rid of Chris Grier. The man knows what he's doing. He knows how to structure contracts. He knows how to get in them, and he knows how to get out of them. So find me another GM that could put together this talent on offense that we have. And all of a sudden we went from looking banged up with practice squad players to a window where it's like, oh, I see what's going on here. So now all you have to do is fix up the O-line, and all of a sudden you give your quarterback plenty time to throw to these weapons, and now you're going to have 2 or 3-0 this year, bro. And everybody complaining about Chris Grier. Like, all of a sudden you act like Chris Grier's team that he assembled this year was all there the whole time. Like, nah, bro, relax. We had injuries. Injuries not an excuse, but yeah, bro, it's okay. Pump the brakes. This is PTSD. This is Dolphins PTSD. Oh no, it's falling apart. I'm a Dolphin fan. I haven't seen anything since my dad's Dolphins. Well, my granddad's Dolphins now. You know what I'm saying? Pump the brakes. It's okay. It's a long season. We're straight. My bad, Kadeem. I went on for a little bit, but what you got?
No, all good. And I think the interesting thing is that when the Dolphins were 3-0, there was, I wouldn't say there was harmony, because there's never harmony around the Miami Dolphins fan base anyway. But I didn't hear anything about Chris Grier's job or anything like that. And then obviously, I think it's compounded by, like I said, the fact that, Jalen Phillips isn't leading the league in sacks right now. But last time I checked, he was tied for pressures alongside Gregory Rousseau, who everyone believes that the Dolphins missed out by not picking him. And I think he's in like the top 10 or top 10% in terms of pressures from a defensive end, point. So it's not like he's not doing anything.
Under pressure.
And then again, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's one of those things where I'm sure even between the two of us, we can sit there and say that year when we had 3 first-round draft picks we selected Tua, friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson, and Noah Igbenogany. Listen, those last 2 picks could have been a lot better. Obviously, hopefully we get friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson, back on Sunday, and he continues to develop at right tackle. You don't turn around and say we're drafting to play left tackle, but all these kind of things. And like we said, Noah Igbenogany probably come off the best game as a Miami Dolphin, but 3 years into his NFL career, you kind of need for him to be, if not a starter, a genuine, viable option. So yes, Chris Grier should have drafted better, but I'm a context person. Maybe I give people too much benefit of the doubt. But when I look at not just the Dolphins in my time as a fan, but also, over the last 10, 20 years, and you can answer this question, when was the last time the Miami Dolphins had a top 15 offensive line where you can go, do you know what, that offensive line was really, really good? When was the last time the Dolphins produced
top
multiple
15?
Or
You
not in
said
terms
top
of
15 offensive line?
One in which you could say the Dolphins had a good offensive line.
I do believe one of those years, one of those Tannehill years, there was a good O-line. One of them, it was like a window where there was, I promise you this, there was like a Tannehill O-line where, because Tannehill held the ball too long, right? But I think there was one year in there that I was like, oh, this is a nice little O-line. Like I kind of preferred if Tua had that O-line for a year, I think he'll look way better than he does now. But it was short-lived though. It wasn't that.
And was that the offensive line, but just couldn't stay healthy? It was like Tunsil, like Pouncey,
and
Juwan James. And again, these guys couldn't stay healthy. So even probably the best offensive line, which we can think of off the top of our head, couldn't stay healthy. To me, there's a wider issue as to why the Miami Dolphins as a franchise cannot build offensive line. That's not a Chris Grier problem, in my opinion. That's a long-standing issue the Miami Dolphins have. I'm not going to say that just because the Dolphins can't build offensive lines, Chris Grier gets a pass. 100% no. Dude, do your job. And again, that 2020 draft class, you sat here, if not on the podcast, in one of our many voice notes that led to this podcast, trade 26 and 18 and go get Tristan Wirfs. Or go do something. That's crazy. I don't know if LB can hear us right now, but that pick of Noah Igbenogany, go and get Jonathan Taylor. There's things that Chris Grier 100% could have done, but I made a note of the draft picks Chris Grier has made in the first 2 rounds. I've gone back to 2018, we believe he started picking, 2019? Would you say so?
Oh, right. Because Mike Tannenbaum was it was this dynamic where I think Chris Grier may have been considered the GM, but there were split responsibilities where he didn't get so he didn't have sole power of he didn't have control of sole control. He didn't have full control. He didn't have full control over everything like he does now. And everyone had their hand in the cookie jar. So now when Chris Grier got his full control, now we could, okay, this is all you now. And even that's a perfect segue, because I kind of feel like even when Chris Grier had full control, you still want to give your head coach that you chose some flexibility. You don't want to hire a head coach and say, nope, I'm not letting you do anything when it comes to personnel. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do that if you're Chris Grier, right? So here goes Brian Flores. And then I'm telling you, I feel like Noah Igbenogany was a Brian Flores pick. Can you imagine how much that changes everything? If Chris Grier's like, nah, bro, I'm not really feeling this. But if Brian Flores is going to have meetings with the Auburn defense and have them draw up plays before the draft, and he falls in love with Noah Igbenogany and a couple other people on that defense, and he takes Noah first overall, Chris Grier has to fall on the sword and say, listen, I am the GM. I could have overruled him, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that he is responsible for the picks, but it doesn't mean that he made all the picks. Now, he's responsible. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you said something, Kadeem, and it made me think, who are some of the best teams in the NFL at draft picks, at picking, like during the draft, accumulating picks and actually nailing it in the draft? And it had me thinking, I'm like, off the top of my head, which if you guys watch this podcast or listen to this podcast, I'll throw Kadeem a curveball, or Kadeem would throw me a curveball, and it'll be a random, fact check, stat check that, and next thing you know, it checks out. Not but at the same time, there's some merit to it. Here's the thing, Kadeem. Think the Cowboys pick, have at least, they gotta be in the top 5 when it comes to picking, draft picks. These boys pick the best all the time. It's gotta be top 5, and they can't. There's a salary cap, so you can't really. It's kind of elastic. You can kind of get around it, but you can't really. You have to move on from players. So they always move on from players, and they always replenish. When the last time the Cowboys went to the Super Bowl? You know what I'm saying?
Or done anything significant. And
then flip side, the Rams don't even pick, and they've been to, I want to say, 2 of the past 5, maybe something like that. 2 of the past 5 Super Bowls.
Sounds about correct, yeah.
So it's not about only. It's not draft picks only, and that's it. You're not GM draft picks. You blew the draft. That's not even it. It's more than that. So nah, man. My conductor's hat right there. I don't want to get up again and go get it. But don't make me go over there and pick up my conductor's hat.
So I think, I've got 2018 down just in case. But I think between the two of us, if we just a simple, pass or fail grade. So 2018 first round pick, Minka Fitzpatrick. I'd give him a pass, even though Minka ain't in the building no more. I think most people would say that was a good first round draft pick.
Hold on. Before I understand where you're about to go, but can you tell us why Minka isn't on the team anymore?
My belief of the situation is Minka was asked to do things by Brian Flores.
Okay.
And Minka was like, I don't want to do that. I am not playing team ball. The Dolphins hit him off for a first round pick, went to Pittsburgh, got a load of picks, and then was like, the Steelers are playing me in one position. I want to kind of, free roll. And it's like, that's exactly why you left Miami.
So the consensus, it's not just you. The consensus is Brian Flores and Minka didn't mesh, and that's why he left. And then you had grown men walking around in a single file line like a prison, and Minka wasn't on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a Chris Grier thing. All right. And I know we're doing picks, but I know you're about to go into something else, but Kyle Van Noy. Can you tell us why Kyle Van Noy didn't finish out his contract? He only played 1 year with the Dolphins. Do you remember that?
Again, that seemed like a Brian Flores thing, and I say that because
we can stop because I remember it to be a Brian Flores thing too. Why Kyle Van Noy went somewhere else, and Kyle Van Noy's relationship with Brian Flores fell apart. So now Chris Grier had to find wiggle room for a contract that Chris Grier drew up. Like, hey, I got to put these contracts together, and now Flores is asking me to get out of a contract. So that doesn't look good on Chris Grier either. But okay, my bad. Continue, Kadeem.
No, I'm saying. So you say Minka's a pass? Would you say?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I've got to take my Minka, and then second round pick Mike Gesicki. That definite pass. To me, again, could his role this year be better? Yes. Get more targets, but I think Mike Gesicki is a pass pick.
100%. If anyone says Mike Gesicki is not a green pick, green or red or pass or not pass, yeah, I don't know if I got time for that. But yeah, Mike Gesicki is a check.
So 2019, I have Christian Wilkins in the first round. Again, I still think that's a pass pick. I know we've differed on Christian Wilkins. I know we differ on whether he should be retained in Miami, but I still think right now I'm looking at that pick going, that's a pass pick. Agree, disagree?
Check.
Cool. 2019, we had no second round picks. Is what it is. I see a bunch of people like, I can't remember why we traded out, why we had no second round picks. It looks like we traded away. Oh God, that's just the wrong bit. Totally. But yeah, I can't see any second round picks in 2019. And unless I got it totally wrong, can you remember taking them on the second round?
2019.
Yeah,
okay, not off the top.
Okay, cool. 2020 is obviously the Tua draft. Tua, I know the jury's still out on him. 3 games into the season, I still think it's a tick pick. However, I am open to listening to people who disagree, or people say the jury's still out. I'm going to go pass pick. I know you're going to go pass pick, but assuming you go pass pick.
Yeah, listen, Kadeem, bro, Tua is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and I cannot wait for everyone to see it.
So we've got Tua tick.
You good?
Friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson. I don't think that there's a friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson. There's no middle ground. To me, it's either pass or fail. I'm trending towards fail given what could have been, but I also believe that in this new scheme, he's trending upwards. So I don't know. Feet to the fire. I'm probably gonna go fail. But what do you think?
I can make an argument for both, but I'm leaning towards pass because there's a new regime, and I thought we were okay with him. And then we also know that, look, his pass blocking wasn't the best, but his run blocking was better than average. So I always go back to one. I believe it's too early to grade the picks, even though we're doing it. I do think it's too early because Jadeveon Clowney. I will always go back to and Ryan Tannehill. Jadeveon Clowney was almost a bust until he wasn't, and that was like 4 years into his career, where it was like, okay, he's not a bust. So that's why I can't fail AJ yet. But I like Austin Jackson.
That's cool.
Now, if we're talking about extending contracts, that's different. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, Benogany, right now you can't give anything but a fail. But even if you say maybe Sunday against the Vikings was his turning point. Right now, if you're grading him on what he's achieved for the Miami Dolphins, I can't think you give him anything else but a fail. How about you?
Yeah, it's a no for me, dogs. No, it ain't it.
That's cool.
Unfortunately.
And then second round, friend of the podcast, Robert Hunt, to me, resounding success. Would you agree?
For sure. Robert Hunt was, I want to say, our best O lineman for 2 years prior to this year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Did we have a better O-lineman than Robert Hunt?
In my opinion, no.
Cool.
And then Raekwon Davis, I'd probably go as a pass. I think he's been a good pick. Again, could it have been better? Yes. Could he show up more? Yes. But I think there's a subtle difference when Raekwon Davis isn't in the starting lineup. In terms of picks, the Dolphins could have done a lot worse. How about you?
So just a full disclaimer, we're recording this episode and there is technical difficulties. So we're fighting through the technical difficulties. We don't know how it will turn out on the other end. So we're just going to fight through it. So it may come out a little funny, but we're going to fight through it. Raekwon Davis is a pass, but I want to be very fair. I also believe Raekwon Davis is a Brian Flores pick. So the same way I got on Brian Flores for selecting Noah, and I did not give the blame to Chris Grier, I'm gonna give the passing grade to Brian Flores for taking Raekwon Davis.
And again, we also Brian Flores be so excited when that pick was made. It was like, yeah, this is the guy you wanted, and you got him. Fair enough. 2021, probably way too early to grade these guys, but first round picks, Jalen Waddle, right now, 1 year in, success. I've seen a lot of people on social media turn on him because he had a fumble in that last game. That to me is just a Dolphin fan being stupid. Like, let's not do this by Jalen Waddle. I give Waddle a pass.
Someone said trade him? Someone said
not trade him. Not trade him, but I was like, oh, he's trash, he's not that good, all that kind of stuff. Dude, this is why you don't go on Twitter. There are legit people on social media after Sunday going, Jalen Waddle's trash, he's never been it, he's overrated. What has he done since he joined Miami? Well, apart from break the rookie catch record, I don't know what's he done. Like, yeah.
Listen, man. Yeah, he broke the rookie receiving record, and Jalen Phillips broke the franchise rookie sack record. So I'm just saying, everyone wants instant gratification when it comes to draft picks. They want, I want a Hall of Famer every single time. I gotta say, you gotta be patient, and I'm not saying be as patient as we were with Ryan Tannehill. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you got to be as patient as we were with Ryan Tannehill and give him 7 seasons. I'm not saying that, but we do have to be patient when it comes to rookies.
Yeah, 100%. So off the back of that, I'll give Phillips a pass as well. I know people disagree. Again, if you can disagree, let us know in the comments below. I know some people already have, but that's where the conversation should be taking place, in the comments on this show. And then second round, friend of the podcast, Javon Holland, the Zounding Tick. If you want to argue with that, go argue on another platform, on another show. I don't want to hear it. Friend of the podcast, Javon Holland. And not just because he's a friend of the podcast. The guy's a dude, like 100%. And then the other second round pick was Liam Eichenberg, someone who I vouch for. I'm a guy in London, clearly don't know anything. Right now, that's a fail. I think his demise is being overblown, but I can happily agree that for a second round pick, even into his second year, it's not been good, which is why for me it's a downgrade. And I still think that the Dolphins right now would probably help themselves more, bringing back Michael D to a center and moving Connor Williams to left guard. But that's an issue that we can't fix, between the two of us. But what do you make of Holland and Eichenberg?
I gotta be fair. Again, Javon Holland is the real deal. You're not gonna get a pushback from nobody on Javon Holland. But I gotta be fair with Eichenberg. I believe if you've only been in the league 3 seasons, it's too soon to grade anybody. Whether it's Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, anybody that was drafted into his class, I think it's too early to grade them. But we're venturing off into these waters, so I'm okay with it. But I have to be fair to Eichenberg. It's a no right now for me. But to be fair, hopefully he could get it turned around. But I was not on Eichenberg or Noah when we drafted them, and I didn't want them drafted. But they're here, and hopefully these boys can get it turned around.
100%. And going from that, so I believe there's 12 picks. Which, to be fair, 12 picks in 4 years is quite mental. And I've got 2 definitive no's and 1 maybe. So, in our opinion, he's got at least 9 of the 12 picks spot on, mate. Spot on. And again, could they have been better? 100%. Like, you look at the guys who were taken around some of those players and you think, yeah, like, even the one we kind of disagree on, then the podcast, Austin Jackson, could have been a better pick. However, again, I'm of the opinion that you're not going to bat 1,000 every single time. There's going to be mistakes. And when there are mistakes, but we are going to say, yo, not good enough, do better. But I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I don't know. Maybe we got our Chris Grier glasses on and we're too blinkered.
Nah, bro. We don't have Chris Grier glasses on. I got the hat on, but listen, I'm going to be real with you, bro. When Chris Grier traded San Fran and accumulated all these draft picks and was able to get Waddle and did all the little jugging he did, everyone called him a genius. Twitter blew up and had all the Chris Grier memes like Chris Grier smiling and all type of stuff. Chris Grier playing chess, not checkers. Again, when Chris Grier found a way to get Tyreek Hill in Miami, it was, oh, we're back on the good graces. You know what I'm saying? Chris Grier is the dude. Like, bro, I'm not riding this Chris Grier roller coaster with y'all. Yeah, I'm not. Bro, listen, y'all ride the roller coaster. I'm operating the train, Holmes. Chris Grier is the GM. And when we pull off the Super Bowl within the next 2 seasons, no one's going to be able to say anything.
Before we start looking toward the Pittsburgh game, did you see any of Monday Night Football?
I did.
West Ham meets AFC Bournemouth on Monday at 2000 hours.
Did you hear that?
I did, Kadeem.
that was my watch trying to get involved with some English Premier League talk. So apologies for that. But yeah,
you know what's funny? So my Google Maps, when it speaks, it has a English accent. It has a British accent, and people are like, yo, why does Siri talk with a British accent? I'm like, so at the time I had a girlfriend from England, and I just set it to that setting. My bad. I never changed it, but yeah, man. So Siri talks in a British accent on my phone. It's crazy.
Mental. But yeah, did you see any of Monday Night Football?
I did, Kadeem. And I don't know where you're going with this, but I'm not going to take it away from you either because I think I have an idea where you're going. But it's so funny how everybody compares Tua to his contemporaries. And then sometimes they don't want to compare Tua to his contemporaries for whatever reason, right? But I'm going to let you go first, and I'll clean up for you. Go ahead.
The Chargers benched J.C. Jackson in Monday Night Football. You are on the podcast saying the Dolphins should have moved on from Xavier Howard and brought in J.C. Jackson. Even after J.C. Jackson benching, the dire need that Miami have at corner, I believe going into Sunday Night Football, they only have 4 fit corners, one of them being X, who has a dodgy groin or loser limb, depending on who you speak to.
No, he's injured. He's injured, but the loser's limp comes at a convenient time. That's all. Go ahead.
You haven't got your Chris Grier hat on, but how quickly do you pick up the phone to the Chargers and say, "Hey, we can help you out with this JC Jackson situation. What's it going to take?" Or are you like, that ship has passed, he's not another problem?
So, as a GM, you probably don't do that because as the Chargers GM, you probably don't move him. And as the Dolphins GM, I don't know. The machinations of the contract probably wouldn't work out in a trade because they're probably going to have to eat so much dead cap they wouldn't move him. But what I would do is pick up the phone and ask the Chargers for Asante Samuel Jr., the other corner. That's my dog. He was on 2 Shades 24. So I'm still picking up the phone and talking to the Chargers about Asante Samuel Jr., but J.C. Jackson, and I'm going to tell you why I still got J.C. Jackson ranked ahead of Xavier Howard. Because there have been times, Kadeem, where you wanted to bench Xavier Howard, but we just can't do it. We're not going to bench Xavier Howard ever. We're never going to bench Xavier Howard. Never. But there's times as a Dolphin fan, I'm sure everybody has watched the game and be like, I don't know about that. I'm just saying. So I'm going to leave it there. But I'm going to go into what I was about to go into, which I thought you were about to go into about Tua's contemporaries. Justin Herbert was 1 for 14 in Monday Night Football when he targeted passes over 15 yards. 1 for 14 for passes over 15 yards. I remember arguing with Sherrod Steve. Shout out to Sherrod Steve. This wasn't for Sherrod Steve, but shout out to Sherrod Steve. We were talking about what's a deep pass. Like, how deep is a deep pass, right? And I'm like, yo, anything over 12 yards is a deep pass. But Justin Herbert, 1 for 14. And then the Hail Mary that Justin Herbert, shout out to Adam Beasley for this one. The Hail Mary that Justin Herbert threw ended up only going 55 yards. The arm and the cannon that this man has supposedly had only went 55 yards, and Tua has dropped dimes on 55 yards.
I thought it was
so
53 yards.
Oh, my bad, Kadima, it was 53. My fault. Go ahead. Sure. If it was 53, it was 53. But what I'm saying is, y'all stop talking about this. The arm, Josh Allen got a stronger arm than Tua. But when the game was on the line, Josh Allen one-hopped a pass from the 5-yard line. Wide open receiver could have ended the game. Justin Herbert has a stronger arm than Tua. Dog couldn't even throw a Hail Mary over 55 yards. Well, hold on, I got something else for Justin Herbert too. I just can't think about it because it's not like I dislike these boys. I just want to defend my quarterback, and everybody can't see, like, for some reason it's just one. So yeah, man. And I know I could hear, like, I could hear comments already. I could hear it. You hear that? Click, 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 click. You hear that? Justin Herbert is hurt.
I have no headphones on.
I hear it ticking from like keyboard warriors. Justin Herbert's hurt. Like, bro, that was a month ago. How many games did Tua miss with the same rib injury, Kadeem?
4.
I'll help you out. 3. Tua missed 3 games. Justin Herbert was hurt a month ago. All right, so nah, bro, we're not doing this, man. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. Like, all right, I think Tua's it. It costs $0 for someone to say, all right, I might have been wrong about Tua. I think he's it. But okay, we 3-0 with him, 3-0 without, 0-3 without him. Go figure.
Absolutely mental. Before we enter bonus time, I thought we talk about obviously Pittsburgh on Sunday. As we kind of now accustomed to do in these midweek episodes, a brief look at the game and how we reckon we beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think for me it starts with I think Minka and 2 other DBs missed the last game. Even if Minka returns, he probably won't be 100% healthy. I think we get Tua back. And I think, listen, Jalen Waddle is going to be so vexed after what happened on Sunday. He's going to want to make up for it, but not in a stupid way. I think Tua and Jalen Waddle can just go off on this Pittsburgh defense. And obviously, Brian Flores is going to want to show up and go, yo, I told you Tua's not the guy, all that kind of stuff. But I think the weapons we have against this Pittsburgh defense is going to be should be way too much to, make it a close game. And even if they try to, I think it's looking like the starting quarterback out and it's Mitch Trubisky in. If we can't bully Mitch Trubisky into submission, then we need to have a conversation about Josh Boyer.
I'm not sure about bullying anybody for defense. I don't know. I'm not of the belief that our defense is capable of bullying any team this year. That's not a shot. That's not being funny. I'm dead serious. I don't know if it's because of injuries or I don't know if it's because Josh Boyer is not it. I don't know. But we are incapable of bullying someone. So how do we get it done? I got a better question than how do we get it done. The question, Kadeem, is, are we sure we want to put Tua back in behind this O-line? Because I'm not sure that we're gonna do it. We're gonna start Tua, but I gotta believe. I gotta tell you, Kadeem, I'm not comfortable putting my franchise quarterback behind this O-line right now. Teddy took gang of hits. Skylar took a gang of hits. I'm not happy with this O-line. So how do we get it done? Is not going to be the Tua that we've seen in the first 2 weeks of the season, first 3 weeks of the season. I think we're going to have to make some adjustments. I think it's going to have to be Tyreek Hill getting 9 receptions, Jalen Waddle getting 9 receptions, and yak him to death. But, we'll go to that on the preview.
I think while I do agree, I think the one thing we've seen from Tua over the past 2 years is that he's elevated this offensive line with how quickly he gets the ball out. But I also think if we welcome back Teron Armstead and friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson, I personally believe that that's basically the offensive line that we had when Tua was going 3-0. I think part of the main issue with the defensive line is that the tackles right now are just beyond bums. Like Greg Little on Sunday had a passing grade of 1.5. Like, put me in there. Dude, put me in there, I'd probably get a passing grade of 1.5. So I think while I'm not thrilled with Tua behind his defensive line, I think the returns of both tackles, even if it's just to run Armstead at left tackle and you move Snell to right tackle, but again, as I said earlier, we were talking about the Noah pick. I don't know at what stage. Sorry, Lee Meichenberg. I don't know at what stage you turn around and go, if Lee Meichenberg is as big a liability as we believe, do you not just go, okay, we'll go Teron Armstead left tackle, Connor Williams left guard, Michael Dieter center, friend of the podcast Robert Hunt at right guard, and then again Snell or even Robert Jones at right tackle. I understand that Connor Williams still has snap issues, but his overall play at center is good. But we don't have the snap issues with Michael Dieter at center. While the play might decline, it won't decline off a cliff. And we've seen Connor Williams at an NFL level perform very, very well at left guard. But I understand the reservation behind putting Tua behind the offensive line we saw on Sunday.
The idea of Robert Jones or Snell at right tackle is unfathomable to me, while Tua is a left-handed quarterback. Unfathomable. But we're about to get into bonus time. Y'all come on over to bonus time with us. Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive.
Wait. My question that I had at the start of the show, the last player between the Jets and the Dolphins, I did say I'll answer that before we get into bonus time.
So since it's before we get to bonus time, last player that was traded, you said traded or just
traded?
Like, could it be a free agent? Traded.
Traded.
Traded. Jets. Do you know the answer?
I do, yeah.
All right. Had we been prepared, I would have asked for multiple choice, and you would have been able to look up some good multiple choice options, but I'm sure not prepared for that. So I'm just going to fall on the sword and say last player to go from traded from the Miami Dolphins. Can we get a side of the ball? Is it offense or defense?
Offense.
Offensive side of the ball. Oh, no, it wasn't. I thought it was what's the name? Rashard Matthews was a receiver. He went to Tennessee, but I don't think it was him. Obviously. Offensive side of the ball, we already did the 50-50. Can we get like a position group?
I'll give running back.
Running back. So I felt like it was running back, but I still don't even know who the running back is. Go ahead and tell us.
So I've got it down as Caden Balaj. Left the Dolphins to go to join Adam Gase and the Jets. However, from doing a bit more research, it seems that I don't know if he was released and then went to the Jets, or if the Jets tried to trade for him and then something went wrong. So if it's not Kalen Ballard, who seems to be the last person that... Sorry, you're saying?
No. That I see what you're saying, because I thought he ended up in San Diego too. And I say San Diego because I don't think it was LA yet. But I could be wrong about that as well. But I know he played for the Chargers because fantasy football, we used to call him the Bellagio. But nah, that makes sense. We bonus time?
Yeah.
Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive, test negative. Slide on over to bonus time with us. For Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time.
Very quick one from me then. So if it wasn't Kalen Ballard, I believe the last person was James Brown in 1996. Seems to be the last person to be traded between the two teams. I never saw James Brown play. The only James Brown I know is a singer. For anyone who doesn't know who James Brown was,
he's a
he
tackle?
was James Brown.
Was he a tackle? He's a lineman?
Let me double check. No. James Brown, Miami Vice. No. What was a tackle? Yeah. Tackle.
I gotta reevaluate my life, bro. Why do I know why I know so much of this stuff, bro? This is I think it's cool that I know some of this stuff, but then I'll be like, bro, you single, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? So and you got a Dolphins podcast now, still saying I should have just got that chick that was a Dolphin chick, bro. I should have just wiped her and I blew it. I fumbled. See? The best of us, we fumble sometimes. You know what I'm saying? My dog shooting shots and getting married. I'm over here fumbling Tua fans. Dang. And she was a Tua fan. You feel me? That's crazy. Kadeem, I got to tell you something, man. I'm warming up to the idea of Christian McCaffrey being traded to the Dolphins. And we're not going to go far into this, but I am warming up to it. We did the numbers. It's similar to what we pay our running back room right now. It's similar to what it would be if moving forward for the next 3 years with Christian McCaffrey. And it's not because of that. Excuse me. I'm warming up to it so he doesn't go to Buffalo. Because if Christian McCaffrey ends up in Buffalo, we're going to have a problem. So it's not just about, do I want Christian McCaffrey on as a Dolphin? Would I pay him $12 million a year for the next 2 seasons? Because you could get out of it in the 3rd season. But do I want to see him in Buffalo for the next 2.5 seasons? So I'm warming up to it. If there's a way we can make it happen without us spending too much draft capital, I'm bringing him in.
Yeah, I'm still kind of on that train, but I still think we need cornerback help at the very least, as well as offensive linemen. And I'll end on this. The whole Jets trade thing is that apparently Jets cornerback Bryce Hall is unhappy in New York. I was like,
hold on. You said quarterback, cornerback, or cornerback. And then you said who?
Bryce Hall.
Okay. I didn't know there was a Bryce Hall over there. I know there's a Breece Hall, and I like, what are we talking about? All right, but go ahead.
No. Yeah, so Bryce Hall is unhappy in New York. And I was like, whether or not he'd be a good fit in Miami, how often do the two teams trade? So I kind of went back and looked at it. I think, again, it's worth picking up the phone and saying, hey, what can we get anything done? But I know there's also other cornerbacks who Dolphins should probably try and reach out first. And I thought it was a bit of fun, looking at players traded between the two AFC East teams.
Dolphins versus Pittsburgh Steelers preview next episode. Hey, and matter of fact, before we get out of here, if you have questions for Go Time Dolphins that you would like us to answer on the podcast, hit us up in the YouTube comments, hit us up on IG, hit us up on Twitter, and we will gladly answer your questions on the podcast.
Oopsie.